Hello everyone, this is Raven here with another total trailer breakdown of the Norsca faction. So you'll actually be receiving this race if you pre-order the second game or buy it within the first week, and you'll receive it as the early adopter bonus. And then from there it'll just be added as a cheap DLC, just like the Warriors of Chaos were added. So we'll be seeing them introduced in the game quite soon, hopefully. So let's go ahead and take a look at this trailer, then we'll go over the army list together.
We seek the monsters that you fear the most. We chase the nightmares that haunt your cowardly dreams. The deadlier the prey, the more we exult in the hunt, the more we honor our gods. This harsh land breeds the savage, and we revel in it. The old world calls. Ripe for our taking. We fought monsters, and we became them.
Alright, so pretty interesting little trailer right there. So yeah, as you can see, he goes through, he kills Chaos Dragons, he kills Ragnarok Spiders, he kills Giants. So this guy is going to be just a total baller. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the army roster right here and take a look at him specifically. So the first Legendary Lord we're going to go down to him real quick, is Wulfric the Wanderer. Well, he's going to be a relentless executioner. So what we're going to be seeing out of him is very good duelist. I'm expecting quite high AP damage and probably just massive weapon strength overall. And interesting things to note here, the Siege Attacker Tribute, just like Vlad von Karstein, able to engage in sieges and not have to wait for things to be built, just can engage any walled settlement and immediately attack them that same turn. And then also down here, he has an ability that is called the Hunter of Champions skill right here. Allows him to pin down enemy characters in place while he fights them. So any enemy or lord, any enemy hero or lord, can be pinned down in place, and he's just going to be able to just chop away at them with his crazy sword. So I'm expecting some pretty good damage out of him. We're going to be seeing some pretty sweet buffs with him in campaign as well. All mammoths and marauders enjoy bonus melee attack and reduced upkeep cost for the marauders. So that's pretty cool. And then not only that, but all of his units cause fear, so very good for him. Very interesting playstyle for these guys. So it's probably going to be seeing something like the WOG or the Bray Herd animosity levels in this faction, just having units having to fight each other to be able to keep their morale up before they start having infighting issues and start suffering attrition. So we'll probably be seeing something like that. So victory conditions, securing its final great reward and the trigger to victory, the gods are jealous, and the 3 you have spurned will not take kindly. They will dispatch their most powerful champions to challenge your supremacy, activating a series of quests which culminate in an epic endgame experience. So everything here is based around fighting some sort of crazy monster or creature or just super powerful lord. So like right here you can see that you actually unlock this ancient tome, which shows you the mightiest beasts and monsters to roam the world and initiates multi-stage quests where you can actually fight those creatures, then perhaps recruit them or get a trophy from them, which is going to imbue some sort of special effect like a ward save or so like a magical damage or something like that. We'll find out quite what it is later on. And Frostbaite's going to be a common effect, so how you seeing the Dragonback Slayers or the Hand of Nagash, things like that, the Claw of Nagash, or other units that cause a chilling effect. We're going to be seeing that across any units that have ice in their name in this army roster, causing them to be slower. Like the Frostworm right here has a chilling aura ability, constantly slowing the movement speed of all nearby units, whereas others, I feel like it's probably just going to be somebody that they actually attack is going to be struck by that debuff for chilling, kind of like the Dragonback Slayers. Anybody that they actually strike is slowed down rather than anybody nearby. So Dominate right here, you can actually see it's going to be easy to confederate people. Just go and find their main legendary lord or something like that, kill them in a battle, and then immediately you're probably going to be able to confederate that faction right off the edge of that battle. Just be like, well, I killed their lord. The rest of your faction is just going to submit to the will of this. So that's going to be pretty interesting. So another thing is just Marauder Outposts being able to be established. So just basic recruitment options and replenishments and stuff like that, but not really any major cities and stuff like that. So really all your development's going to be happening in Norsca, and then key capital, so Altdorf, Drakenhof, etc., etc., etc. So you'll just be seeing lots of raiding and fighting as the main source of your income. And then up here you can see the allegiance of the gods. So every time you raise a settlement, you can erect a monolith to one of the 4 dark gods to personify the eagle, the crow, the serpent, and the hound. So we'll probably be seeing different buffs from the different dark lords of chaos for each of the armies that destroy certain amounts of settlements and then start raising certain monoliths. So I'm not sure which ones these would all go to. We'll have to see what they pertain to, but I'm expecting several buffs or enhancements for any of the characters and units in the armies that are able to destroy several settlements throughout the world. So we'll keep an eye on how that actually plays out when the campaign comes out. So let's go ahead and take a look at the army roster down here. So Wolfric the Ronderer, we've already gone over him. Now we're going to look at Throg. So we have the King Troll, and this guy actually is just going to be your basic troll, but he's also going to be a little bit smarter than the rest of his kind. So he's actually got a rare intelligence for his grotesque kind, is what they say. So he's going to be a powerful melee leader, and he's going to provide a reduced upkeep for the Troll and Troll Ice units, and also perform physical resistant buff for all of the units that are trolls in his army. Actually, faction-wide right there, so that's pretty cool. And then anybody in his army is actually immune to all forms of attrition, so that's amazing. Just going to be able to go across the entire map, not having to worry about vampiric corruption, chaos corruption, or anything like that. So that's going to be really nice, not having to worry about that. Just able to move at will and not have to worry about taking that slow advancement through corruption without taking extreme losses through attrition. And then down here, you can see that he actually has a uniquely trollish magic missile attack called Copious Vomit. So we're going to have to see what that turns into. It's going to be kind of interesting to figure out what's going to happen with that. So down here it says a new lord, the Marauder Chieftain. So it's just going to be your generic lord, I'm assuming. Probably going to have a couple potions, things like that. So a series of mounts culminating in the mighty war mammoth. So we're going to be seeing lots of large creatures from the Norscan faction, actually, despite what we may have thought previously about them. I was expecting werewolves and maybe harpies or valkyries and things like that, and some mammoths, but we'll get down to what we see in a minute. So down here you can see for their heroes, the Skin Werewolf Werekin. So it's going to be your typical it says an anti-large focus warrior, but I'm expecting just a full-on just melee lord. Just get into the brawl and just be able to dish out a lot of damage, and we'll be seeing what happens with him. So strong or defensive combat support buffs to nearby enemy units. We'll see how that works. We'll see what happens with them. We'll see what kind of buffs and abilities they give these guys. Hopefully they're going to be a little bit more unique instead of just the rather just copy-paste buffs that we've been seeing across all the different races. Down here, a Shaman Sorcerer, so they have access to all the damage-dealing Lords of Magic, Death, Metal, Fire, common with the Chaos Warriors. Down here, the Femir Balefiend. So the Femir are actually a one-eyed reptilian race of creatures that are going to be fighting for the Norscan faction. So it's going to be a pretty interesting group of units to be seeing in the game. Well, I'm interested to see what they actually look like and how they perform. So down here, they say that they're actually a dual role hero. They work good in the thick of battle, but also can cast spells in support of troops. So they have lore of shadow and fire. So we can see Pits of Shade, or the Flaming Skull, or the Flaming Sword of Ruin, things like that. So pretty excited for that. Down here for the infantry main corps, just marauders. They're going to have that really low armor, pretty good move speed, and pretty shitty shields, but overall they're going to have good weapon damage and decent melee attack, but not the best melee defense if I remember correctly. Then they're going to have marauder spearmen with rage, so I'm interested to see how this rage mechanic works. I'm probably going to be seeing something like a frenzy mechanic out of them. With charge defense versus large and hide in the forest. All the units have hide in the forest, so that's very good. Everybody's able to be a little bit sneaky on this faction besides these chariots. They don't have hide. So that's unfortunate, but we'll get to that in a moment. And down here you can see Marauders with great weapons already in the game, and then Marauder Berserkers. So they have Frenzy and Berserk. So obviously a difference between Rage, Berserk, and Frenzy between all these units and other races. So I'm interested to see how this Berserk works. It might be kind of like the rampage mechanic of the Lizardmen in Warhammer 2, where they get into the thick of combat and start taking too many losses. They're just going to go crazy and start attacking everybody as fast as possible and like the closest unit and chase them down until they stop. So we'll see how that works out. And they're probably going to be very high melee attack and melee damage units right here. The Marauder Berserkers, I'm expecting like a dual axe wielding kind of unit, but we'll see. We're not sure quite yet. Then we have Marauder Champions right here. So heavy armor, pretty much probably just going to be seeing the same thing as Marauders, but maybe some better damage and better stats overall with the better armor as well. So good for them. And then Marauder Champions with great weapons. So just obviously the same thing as Marauder Champions, just with the armor piercing values for the weapon damage instead of just higher weapon damage overall. Missile infantry, we're going to see Marauder Hunters with javelins with an anti-large bonus, and Marauder Hunters with an armor-piercing missile. So, the two different variations right there. So one's good at taking down lightly armored cavalry, so like Wild Riders if they were to get into you, or armor-piercing missiles, say like Demigryph Knights or something like that. So very good to see two very good units right there for their missile infantry. The only thing is javelins and throwing axes do not have the same range as bows or thunderers and things like that. So probably going to have to micro them pretty intensely. They're going to take a lot of fire before they're able to do good work, so going to have to be pretty careful with those guys. Down here, two different types of chariots. We got the Marauder Chariot with the Rage ability and the Marauder Ice Wolves Chariot, so it's actually going to cause that frostbite and cause units to be slower when they come in contact with them. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Be able to like slow down some dwarves already slow enough, but make them be even slower. Probably having like a 20 move speed, that'd just be the saddest thing ever. So down here, Missile Cavalry, we got the Marauder Horsemen, fire while moving, Vanguard deployment, Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes, fire while moving, Vanguard deployment, and Marauder Horsemasters. So just everything that's already in the game right now for the Missile Cavalry. So we'll just be seeing more of them for the Norsca faction. So over here for the Monsters and Beasts, we can actually see the Norscan Warhounds. So I'm expecting kind of the same thing as the Dire Wolves or Chaos Warhounds, stuff like that. Going to be a very, very fast unit with a slight missile resistance due to very low armor and decent melee attack skills. Not the best melee defense skills, but great against shredding lightly armored infantry like any kind of ranged units in the back line. So very interesting to see that. And then another one right here, the Norscan Ice Wolf. So these guys will kind of function the same as poisoned warhounds, things like that. Slow them down and then be able to absorb the charges when tied in with other cavalry and things that might be able to do good against larger targets. And then we're going to see Norscan Trolls. So not sure what the difference is between a Norscan Troll or a Chaos Troll or just a regular Troll. Might see some different stats, not sure. But as always, they cause fear and have regeneration. But then you have the Norscan Ice Trolls right here, which actually have the Frostbite ability as well. So we'll be seeing slowed down units all over the board with these guys having their good splash damage thrown into the front line, being able to slow down entire groups of units actually in the front line and be able to prevent them from routing as quickly as you'd want them to be if, say, you're the Bretonnians with your peasants and they have their leadership falter and you want them to get out of there as fast as possible. So that's kind of unfortunate for anybody that's tied up against these guys and gets chased down. Over here, the Feral Manticore, so some air power going to be seen. Some Skin Wolves. So I believe that these guys are actually just regular units at first, and then they turn into werewolves, something like that. I'm not quite sure if that's going to be an ability, like where you can just activate it, and then they're going to have some sort of melee increase and movement speed increase and a physical change as they transform into skin wolves, or if they're just going to be some sort of like hybrid unit where they're like kind of like a half-man, half-wolf kind of unit right there. I'm not sure, but as you can see, they do boast a physical resistance, cause fear, have frenzy, and anti-large, so we'll be seeing them running around trying to get rid of all those large units, trying to take out any of your mainline infantry. So over here you can actually see another variety of them, the armored kind. So armored and physical resistance, so very tanky units. Hopefully we'll see what happens with them and how much they actually cost and what they can actually do for us. And then the Famir Warriors, so I'm not sure how big these dudes are, and I'm not sure how big their unit sizes are. Obviously if they're monsters or beasts, they're probably going to be more the monstrous infantry, so we might see something kind of along the lines of Cryptors or Minotaurs and things like that. So you have one that's just going to have a maybe just 2 like swords or something like that, or a sword and shield, and then one with great weapons for that armor piercing. Now I'm not sure what this From the Mist ability is. We'll see. Maybe it might be some sort of like resistance to physical attacks. Not quite sure. And then it says armor sundering right here on these guys, so that's going to be pretty baller. So far what we've seen for armor sundering is a -30 armor debuff on anybody tagged by these kind of units, and then they're also anti-large as well for the great weapon variety right here. So very good stuff right there for rare monsters and beasts. So this is where I'm getting kind of excited. So we have another giant. Giants are going all across the board for all these very melee focused factions like the Greenskins, Warriors of Chaos, and Beastmen. So that makes me happy. I love seeing some giants get in there, do some good work. Feral Mammoths, so probably not going to have the best leadership compared to one with a bunch of riders and stuff on them, but we'll see what they can do. Siege Attacker trait causes fear and terror. You see that through all these units as well, that they all cause terror. There's not a single one of these that does not cause terror, so that's very good. And you have the Frostworm. Now, I'm expecting this to be a flying unit. I'm not quite sure. When I think of a worm, I think of like a smaller dragon, kind of like a wyvern, like Skullmuncha for Azag the Slaughterer from the Greenskin. So we'll be saying something like that. Has that chilling aura and the frostbite, so anybody actually attacked by it and anybody within the radius of the chilling aura is going to be slowed down. And then we have the War Mammoth right here, and it's going to have anti-large javelin riders on top of it shooting all over the place. So that's very cool. Then we have the War Mammoth War Shrine. Now, I'm not too familiar with what the War Shrine is going to be on the War Mammoth, but I'm expecting it to maybe have more armor or more people on top firing off with their with javelins, or maybe some sort of ability, kind of like the Luminarch of Hysh, or some sort of like spell that it can cast to cause buffs or debuffs or actual damage to enemy units. So it says favors of ruinous power. So when I think of Khorne or Nurgle and people like that, I think either it's going to have like a tankiness trait that's going to be able to apply to people, or it's able to just buff the damage to nearby units, or if it's like Tzeentch or somebody like Slaanesh, maybe actually causing damage straight outright, just based on some sort of magical ability that's going to be giving. And then the Giver of Glory, not sure what that trait does, but we'll have to see. So overall, very, 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 very excited for this roster to be released. I can't wait to see what all they do and what they're going to be like in game. I'm so happy that Norsca is finally getting fleshed out. I'm tired of those like 20 stack chariot armies just coming down from the north, and you just have to deal with them. It's just the most annoying thing playing as the vampire counts or the empire or dwarf sometimes when you get into that northern mountain area when you're trying to capture that stuff, and chaos decides to try and fuck with you. I was so tired of that. So happy that they're going to finally have a fleshed out faction. Very happy about all these changes. So excited for Wulfric the Wanderer down here. That is going to be so fun playing with him and trying to fight all the lords that I can with him, like Archaon, the Ever-Chosen, or Kolek the Sun Eater. See what he can do against that guy. What a beast. I'm so excited for this. So this is going to be a really fun race. Thank you to CA for that amazing cinematic. And right here you can see it's only $9. So you can go ahead and get this. Offer ends on August 10th. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's gonna be a very, very good time for this race when they come out. I'm so excited that they're ending with a high note like this. We're getting the old friend bonus free LC pretty soon, and they said there's probably gonna be free LC released alongside Norsca as well. So I'm interested to see how this goes. And as always, guys, leave a like if you like what you saw. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. And as always, guys, I'll catch y'all later.